Feminist Collectivism. This is the second part in a multi-part series called Go to Work and Give the Government Your Children, the Feminist UN Agenda 21 plan to empower women. It must be concluded that the type of feminism being pushed by the United Nations through reports like the one in Nairobi is of a collectivist nature, indeed resembling more the Communist Manifesto than any philosophy based on liberty and freedom. The UN Communist Association is an important one and helps to further explain the role that feminism is playing in today's society. The connection between collectivism, and more specifically communism, with the United Nations is very easily made, and some researchers, such as G. Edward Griffin in his book The Fearful Master, A Second Look at the United Nations, have provided much evidence to validate this association. One example to show this connection is the story of Alger Hiss. In 1944, while serving as a member of the U.S. State Department, Hiss helped establish the United Nations. Interestingly, an ambassador from the Soviet Union personally recommended that Hiss be appointed temporary Secretary General of the UN. This piece of information is interesting because Hiss was later accused of being a Soviet spy and then convicted of perjury in connection with this charge. Therefore, from the beginning of its establishment, the United Nations has had dubious connections to communism. This association with communism has never appeared to cease, and even in the children's edition of Agenda 21, published in 1994, an opening quote by the former General Secretary of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union and former leader of the Soviet Union, Mikhail Gorbachev, is used to promote the United Nations agenda. These are just two examples showing the Communist United Nations connection, and while much more evidence can be provided, for the sake of brevity, we will move further with this analysis of the feminism connection with all of this. Let us get back to the Nairobi report and conference held by the United Nations in the year 1985, an event which will be referenced throughout this analysis because of its importance in the feminist movement. According to the United Nations, many people refer to this conference in Nairobi, Kenya as the birth of global feminism. Before discussing the details of the Nairobi report and connecting them to current events, a brief discussion of just one of the participants of the UN Nairobi conference, Betty Friedan, will help make the connection between feminism, communism, and United Nations even more clear. Betty Friedan was a leading figure in the women's movement, and her 1963 book, The Feminine Mystique, is often credited with sparking the second wave of American feminism in the 20th century. Friedan was the founder of and involved with many of the leading women's organizations of her time. Friedan also has many questionable ties to communism and Marxism. Daniel Horowitz, a history professor at Smith College, a college that Friedan once attended, wrote a biography on Friedan titled Betty Friedan in the Making of the Feminine Mystique, where Horowitz not only overturns conventional ideas about second-wave feminism, but also reveals long-submerged links to its past. In this book, Horowitz reveals many interesting truths about Friedan's life as well as her connection to communism. As one researcher says, quote, Horowitz's biography makes clear Friedan, from her college days and until her mid-30s, was a Stalinist Marxist, or a camp follower thereof, the political intimate of leaders of America's Cold War fifth column, and for a time even the lover of a young communist physicist working on atomic bomb projects with J. Robert Oppenheimer, end quote. Friedan was also involved with the promotion of the Congress of American Women in 1946, an organization that was accused of being a communist front organization by the House Un-American Activities Committee. Understanding this influence of Karl Marx and communism on the feminist movement in America will help explain the actions of United Nations Agenda 21 and related agendas taking place in today's society which are meant to influence women. These connections to collectivism will be pointed out sporadically throughout this analysis. In the next section in this series, we will be looking at population control and see how that fits into the feminist UN Agenda 21 plan. Thank you for listening. Be sure to watch the related videos, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.